I even put Brie into that category because it's aged 2 to 3 weeks usually. And something stinky slash interesting, we'll call that. Stinky slash interesting. Stinky is like a washed rind. Cheese, interesting, like something that has like habanero peppers in it or something unique, something that piques your interest. And something blue is pretty obvious. So anyway, when we start with the cheese and charcuterie board, we start with the hardware, the utensils. So I'm going to start with the boards. That's what this ridiculous pile is in front of me. This is my big spiel. Don't necessarily need something super dedicated to just cheese and charcuterie. You can use what you have on hand. It's okay. Works fine. Paring knives all day. This is a cheese box. And it's part of, what a cheesemonger has on hand. It's fun to build a board on this surface here and then put the cover on. So yeah, I'm going to work down through this pile and then we'll decide on what we want to actually build on. Some other fun things. I happen to come from a family of woodworkers. This is a sushi tray my brother made out of black walnut. Some fun epoxy through there. So this is kind of like an individual adult lunchable thing. You can put some jam here and line up your baguette and your cheese, and make everyone really, really jealous at work. So that's kind of fun.
It would.
I don't know if you guys have seen this lately. This is it's actually supposed to hold wine corks, but it's a hollowed out letter. It would hold about a weekend's worth of wine corks for Mike and I. We have a cauldron upstairs that's nearly full of wine corks, but it is really kind of cool to make into a little cheese board. And you can find them also like in numbers. So if you have someone who's turning 60, you can get a 6 and a 0, just go to town. You're gonna see me bop in and out of the camera. Like I said, family of woodworkers. This is mesquite with some turquoise inlay. Beautiful board. This is a different board to build on than what is the style today. And what I'm going to show you tonight, this is a board that I would not crowd. This is a board where I would use the design to display the cheese and other things and keep it simple, stupid. So you can see the board, you can see the cheeses. Okay, working down through the pile. Like I said, you can use just about anything. Live edge is really popular again these days. Live edge and definitely a raw top. So it's going to absorb whatever oils and juices that I put on top of this. Super cool to build on. You just have to consider the surface of what you're building on. So this one actually, what I would use, and some of us here in Minnesota know what these are. They're Swedish rye breads. And so this is a food safe, obviously, because it's the food. This is not necessarily food safe. Using one of these enormous crackers on the surface of this rough cut board.
It's a great idea.
Makes it food safe, right? And if somebody cuts down through here and cracks up a cracker, we'll bonus to them. It's a fun idea. I did a wedding a little while ago where they had a cheese wheel wedding cake, and it was probably about 3 feet tall. And using this kind of live edge raw wood look to it, and using those crackers, you didn't even notice that there was a surface between the cheese and the wood. And yeah,
Kerry, are those available online? And all those crackers?
I understand that IKEA sells them.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Not Swedish. Other found objects. This is just an old silver tray painted with some chalkboard paint. I would cover that up too, but I'm also thinking about the holidays. Trust me, in spite of the heat, it's coming quickly. So what you learned tonight, just keep on hand for when we can get together with family. All right, so slate is really popular. This is actually a bathroom tile. It was never installed in the bathroom, don't worry. And it's clean. Rough slate. The only issue I have with this is to make sure that what you put on top of it is already cut, unless you really hate your knives. Because when you cut down through this, cut down through the cheese or whatever's on top of this, it's going to dull your knife. Just something to keep in mind. Same thing with this cast iron pan. Why not? Why not use a cast iron pan? Especially if you're going to warm something up, outside. You don't necessarily need to make a big board. Maybe one beautiful cheese and some nice baguette, some roasted tomatoes, roasted potatoes, and put a nice little Alpine style in here. That's like a Gruyere or a Comte Appenzeller, the really super melty cheeses. Put it on the grill and put whatever you want to like scoop up with it, even if it's just a spoon. Something different.
Let's try that.
This is all gonna fall down on my feet. Oh, by the way, I can trip on a shadow, so usually when I do this stuff, it's like dinner and a show. I usually cut myself or dump something over. Good thing I'm not working with fire.
She's the food.
So another one that I've been doing lately is, you can use different heights too. It doesn't necessarily need to be a flat board. This is just an old aluminum. Actually, I understand they're quite valuable now. Cookie tray, essentially. It makes fun. It makes it really look interesting. I've used my radio flyer sled before as a cheese board. I didn't cut on it, but I'll show you some of those principles here in a minute. This is one of my favorites for summer, being a galvanized metal hickey-do. Something from Walmart, has little handles on it, so it means I can, pull it outside. And it's food safe, and it's also, the surface is impermeable to the oils and juices and all that kind of stuff that we will work with the board. All right, I'm going to move through. I'm not sure when we have a hard stop, but I tend to talk a lot. So pipe in, yell at me, write something in the chat if you really can't get a word in edgewise, because there's a lot to talk about tonight, okay? Next piece of hardware is the utensils. All right, you can find all sorts of unitaskers. Popular Alton Brown, Pottery Barn sets. Unitaskers, they only have one thing to do, and that's to work with cheese. And what are they supposed to do? This one's for hard cheese, this one's for semi-soft. How are you supposed to know that? Well, you don't need to worry about that because we don't need them. This is one of the only ones that is one I tend to keep on hand because it is very, very sturdy. This is for your aged cheeses. These are the crumbly ones. A pick that goes in and then crumbles it apart. You can't quite do that with some of your knives. They all bend a little bit. So this pick, I think this is Monrovia. No, it's Parmigiano Reggiano. And then this is a Brie knife. There's a couple of different styles of Brie knives or soft cheese knives. The idea behind these knives is the less blade contact to the cheese, the less your cheese is going to stick to the blade. It's also great for like peppers because they tend to stick to the blade. So the less blade contact, this one is just really super skinny, and this one has holes in it. This one is nice because it does a couple of different tasks. It's also serrated here. So you can use it to cut your bread as well, your baguette, and a little tip here just to serve yourself. Otherwise, I just use basic knives. Super basic knives. Kitchen knives, there's some old, open up the silver chest and see what you got in there. This is a great one for pickles. Fork there. Some of my favorite collection, and I just learned recently from someone in one of my classes, are these little guys. They apparently are for fish. They're basically the same size as a paring knife. So use those. They cut through the cheese just nicely and are petite. We don't want really any huge utensils on your board. Okay, that's the hardware, other than my fire extinguisher, but I'm not working with fire tonight, so I don't need to bring that out. Grab a board to cut on if you're playing along. A board to cut on and a board to display. Any questions thus far? And grab a glass of Riesling. Start with our lightest wine.
Haven't already.
If you haven't already. If you haven't, you're way behind.
We're drinking dark Riesling.
Okay. So start with our cheeses. I start with the soft cheeses, the mildest cheeses first when I'm building a board. And I'm pulling them out of my cheese grotto. I'll show you what that is in a minute. A very simple French Brie. This one is actually produced in France. It's made from pasteurized milk as per law here in the United States. And I'm going to use a aged cheddar. This is a 5-year cheddar, Wisconsin cheddar. This is a aged sheep's milk Gouda. You can see the beautiful caramel color to it. Gorgeous. It's got a little bit of the crystals on the outside. You'll find that in an aged cheese, tyrosine crystals. It's not mold, it's natural. And then my Caveman Blue. This one is from Rogue River Creamery. And it is, which is a premier, it's Oregon, premier blue producer here in the United States. If you haven't had their cheeses, you need to get them. In 2019, they won Best Cheese in the World for their original blue, which is covered in grapevine or grape leaves that's been soaked in pear spirits. Best cheese in the world over the Italians. They were a little pissed. Other cheeses, yeah, I'm not too proud of this one. This is did a mozzarella pulling class a little while ago. So I got fresh curd from Caputo and did just a stretching class, which is so much fun. So I made a burrata.
Oh,
And if you have never had a burrata, you're behind. You need to get a burrata.
Good. Good stuff.
And that's where my little happy spreader that I got from Scott Harvey Wines is going into, because it's this shape of utensil is perfect for most of your cheeses that are soft. It doesn't need to be super sharp. But yeah, it should be puddling out. It still tastes good. It just looks weird. So I like to think of the cheeses as anchor stores. So here's Macy's. Here's Nordstrom's. Maybe like Home Depot. And I don't know what else we got. Menards. Maybe you guys don't have Menards. I don't know if you don't have
That might be pretty Midwestern.
It might be pretty Menards.
Yeah, it's not here.
Costco.
That ought to be
All right. So I'm gonna slice these prior to putting them on the display. These two I'm gonna leave here because I know that they are crumblers. Your cheese is gonna tell you what it wants to do. Don't force it into a cube if it wants to crumble. That's fine. You don't need to do super, super fancy, crazy things if you don't want to, and if your cheese doesn't want to. So the Brie, I'm gonna start with that. Lumi rinder cheese, soft ripened cheese. Soft ripened cheese is a broad category for Brie, Camembert, and Munster, like walking grain cheeses. It's a soft ripened cheese. So if someone tells you that they're gonna, if they want, they're gonna serve you some Brie, they'll go, oh, you mean a soft ripened cheese? Okay. This one, I always smell them first. This one has a fairly thick rind. I can see that right now. And it is pushing back when I push at it. So that means it's kind of young. And it will not run. I'll probably teach that I'm wrong at this point. It'll probably not run when I cut into it, but treat this like a pie, like a cake, cut it into cake wedges, into triangles. What we want to do when we slice our cheese and when we prepare our cheese is to get the best bite. Best bite for you, best bite for your guests, which means that you need to have, don't give somebody this, okay? That's the very edge of the brie. It's almost entirely rind.
It's my favorite part.
Your favorite part's the rind?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. So anatomy of a cheese, rind, it says a natural rind, the very exterior. Paste is the very interior of the cheese here. And right under the rind is the cream line. This one is not a prominent cream line. I've seen more solid cream lines. That cream line and the extent of that cream line will tell you the age of your brie. The more prominent the cream line, the older the brie. And it's up to you. It's just like, how do you want your steak done? You know, how old do you want your brie? So very, very simple. What's up?
Tammy may have a question.
I do.
Nice.
Can you speak to us about the temperature of the cheese?
Yep, room temperature.
That's the,
Bring your cheese, and room temperature is not 95 degrees. So
well, it is these days.
I know, so don't bring it out so it can sweat outside. That's gross.
Yeah.
So yes, room temperature. I've had the soft ripened cheeses, the softer the cheese, the less time it takes to come up to room temp. So like 30 minutes. The harder the cheese, give it about an hour. Keep it wrapped, or in my case, I put it in my cheese grotto, unwrapped, and it's been in there pretty much all day.
What's a cheese grotto?
I will show you. Cheese grotto is a countertop cave.
Bell jar.
So it's a very specialized piece of equipment. The
Oh, wow.
inventor slash innovator is Jessica Sennett. I do a lot of classes for her. Cheese grotto. We can put the website in there. So it's a countertop cave. She invented this little guy. Big guy. I got the classico. And a few minutes ago, I found my mouse in here. I couldn't find it before. So it has some little, I got the slate one. It also has bamboo. So I've kept my cheeses in here. It's climate controlled. You can keep cigars in here. Hygrometer, so keep it at the right humidity level and temperature for your cheeses to be happy on your counter or for long-term storage in the refrigerator. And in the bottom is a brick that you soak in water, and that will give you the humidity level that you need in your cheese grotto.
Wow. That's really cool.
Isn't that fun?
So that's a clay brick, I assume, right?
It is, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, and actually I still have, I mean, caves are a natural environment, right?
Mhm.
So there's actually a little bit of mold growing on the bottom of mine. Completely natural. I'm not gonna mess with it. Maybe if it gets to be too expensive, I'll give it a clean with some really hot water and vinegar. And then use basically linseed oil to keep it in good condition. The wood part, the bamboo part. So they come in different sizes. This is the big one. I just like this part.
Thank you.
Yep. But it is kind of a neat thing. I've discovered there's lots of uses for it. It is something to get the person who has absolutely everything, and I got it for myself. All right, so the brie is going. I'm leaving most of it, half of it cut and half of it uncut. We are thinking about our guests, the eaters. You can always cut the rest of this as people graze through. If they don't make it to that, put it back in the fridge or back in your cheese grotto. Next, I'm gonna work on my cheddar. This is where we're gonna get real fancy. Super, yeah. Working from largest to smallest on your plate, on your board. I always start with the cheese. That's just because I'm a curd nerd. And then move to like the charcuterie. So especially with this brie, I would, the dry Riesling, pour a little sweet condiment with that. I think that would pair super nice with the dry Riesling and the rosé. Let's see. So this is an aged cheddar. It's orange. That's because it's from Wisconsin.
Near that.
Cheddar is not always orange. It's a food coloring that is in this cheese.
Sliced or,
And it's a very old practice.
here, give me that one, I'll slice it.
I'm just going to cut it into triangles. This is a rindeless cheese that's been aged in cold storage for 3 years. So it's been aged in like a cryovac. So it does not have a natural rind to it like our other cheeses do. That's perfectly fine. You can find these cheeses and with ages up to like 20 plus years. And that's because they've been aged in cold versus cave temp. Difference of about 10 to 15 degrees. So, okay, we're gonna get super fancy now. This is called the zipper.
The zipper.
Yes, the zipper. There's some uncooperative cheddar. There we go. On camera?
Yep.
Okay. One reason I really like this form is because it makes it really easy to pick this piece up. So folks are not rummaging through the cheese and charcuterie board and touching everyone else's pieces. I think we all know somebody who doesn't like when other people touch their food or the food touches other things. This board isn't good for somebody who doesn't like food touching other things because this is going to be a really crammed board. And this is the Euphoria. So like I said, this one likes to be crumbled. As soon as you dig into it, you'll know. One other fun display that you can do for this.
We don't have anything that's gonna do that.
Is
They're talking about.
use the rind as kind of the identifier. So you can put the rind like this and then crumble the pieces to fill in alongside the cheese. So people have an idea they're eating.
Do you ever put little flags on what it is or identifiers?
Sometimes I do. I'm not a huge fan of that just because, like I said, I'm a klutz, and when I'm balancing a glass of wine and a plate and a fork and trying to enjoy my cheese off of the board, you wind up knocking that stuff over. When it's a real super simple board, like we're talking with like 3 cheeses directly paired with 3 wines, then I'll put out little chalkboards or whatever to identify what folks are eating. One other fun trick you can do is if you're doing a really, really large board, you can cover your table in craft paper. The brown paper, get it from the butcher, and write on the paper what is people are eating. You can write around the tray or write around, just put things right on that craft paper and write what people are eating. You can write down like pairing suggestions or like, hey, John, you're really going to like this cheese, and point that way, and then people can, write their own little notes too. That's one way that I do like to label cheeses, but as far as putting a little placard out there, not so much. if people ask, then I will obviously explain what we're enjoying. Okay, so, and here's Caveman. He is rustic. This is a cave aged blue. What is you go into the store and you see the label of the cheese is Caveman. The label of the cheese is the Stag, which is an aged cheddar. What is that? That's what the person on the other side of the counter is supposed to help you with. So is this a cheddar? Is this what is style is this cheese? I don't know what a robin is that I'm eating, the robin. What's the robin? That is a cheese. It's a Colby. So the person on the other side of the counter is supposed to help you with that. Caveman. Okay, so he's gonna get a little pick and let it crumble. It might be, keep some wine, obviously, well, or you can drink all 3 bottles tonight. Oh, that's fine. Bop back and forth with pairings. I would be interested to check out some of the dry Riesling and the rosé with a blue cheese. It might be interesting, depending on how much sweet it carries forward. If the blue is going to be too salty. Some blues are extremely salty. That's what preserves them.
Maybe it'd be a good idea to see what others have.
Yeah, what you
For
guys have?
cheeses. Yeah.
Yeah, for cheeses. Anyone pick up some stuff?
We have a coastal cheddar, a kefir cheese with jalapeno jelly on the side. We have a blue cheese. I don't really know what it is. A goat cheese and a simple goat cheese with herbs in it and a goat cheese cheddar.
Nice. Where are you located?
We're Southern California.
Okay, so are most of your cheeses a California cheese?
Yes.
Good job. Beautiful cheeses there. Especially Cypress Grove.
Yeah.
Wonderful cheeses. Old Fog is one of my all-time faves. How about other folks?
Finish that.
Good.
Well, I've got goat cheese and an aged cheddar from Ireland
Okay.
and Gruyere and an Amish blue.
Ah, okay. So Maytag?
Pardon?
Is it Maytag, the blue?
Salemville?
Okay, Salemville. Yep. That's actually Wisconsin.
It is. My husband picked this up, so I'm just now reading the label myself.
Okay. Nice blue cheeses, and they crumble really well. Some blues like the spreaders, some like to crumble. Like I said, listen to your cheese. They do speak to you. So the next thing I'm going to move on to is the charcuterie. I tend to like to work with salami just because it's fun. You can also, prosciutto, whatever. If you don't want to put meat on your board, that's fine. You can use other things in design with them in the same way. This is a cured ham. That is US, and so it's similar to prosciutto. It's a Southern style ham. If we get to that, I'll show you what that looks like, how to serve. This is Red Table Meats. That's here in Minneapolis from the food building. Has anyone seen the Salami Rose online?
Yeah,
Okay. Have you made a Salami Rose?
no.
All right, we're gonna make a Salami Rose. Get the teeniest little glass you can find. A narrow mouth.
We don't have one.
It could be a shot glass, whatever. Thin sliced salami. You can also do this with cucumber. That's salted. That's flexible. And just about halfway in, halfway out. And keep going around.
What you do?
Just round and round and round. This is one way to do it. It's probably the easiest way. have found,
Keep going.
holding it over like petals on flower. The thinner, the better. You can do this with capicola, so porchetta, and cucumbers.
Ooh, you need to use cucumber.
I did buy a cucumber. I just didn't remember to get it thinly sliced and salted in time. As far as charcuterie goes, charcuterie literally means, translates to cured meat. So cheese and charcuterie board, if there's no meat on it, it's not a charcuterie board. No cured meat on it. So don't go making
The cheese board.
a hot chocolate charcuterie board. I've seen those on Pinterest. Not everything is a charcuterie board. I really don't want a pepperoni stick in my hot chocolate. Keep working around until you can't get any more space down into the middle of this guy. Couple more.
It's
My hands are greasy as can be.
okay.
So tip it over and pull out your rose.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Yeah. And it's actually really easy to eat from too. So it's easy to,
This looks better than
it'll
that.
be easy for your guests to dive into. If you do see someone do this, just turn your back. You do you. Whatever.
On the side between two cheeses.
Because, you know, the meat's going to be really salty and the cheese is really salty. And so that's where our wine comes into balance. So we need sweet in there, or we need something to cleanse our palate.
The acid often balances very well with that too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And the fat feeling in your mouth, the acid will balance with that. The other thing that is really popular right now is the Salami River. What I do with my board is I balance. We eat with our eyes first, so we're balancing color, shape, and momentum. You know, there's that thing called momentum. Movement on the board. This one was cut a little bit thicker, so I'm just folding it up into quarters. And we're making a salami river. And again, the goal here, and the goal is achieved, is that we're making it easy to grab. Largest as far as how much space it's taking up. And then from here, I usually go into the condiments. The, the cactus pear jelly that, came from Grandma so-and-so. That's the time to get it out of the pantry. So here's a salami river.
That's cute. I like her salami river, but I used all the salami in the rose.
Yeah.
Take another piece of that.
And if you don't want to put charcuterie on your board, this can be done with more cucumber, or I actually like to do like dried apricots. Whatever you can line up and get this kind of movement going.
Pack it in with dried egg. We got those. Yeah, we got those.
Way down upon the Salami River. Ta-da. Okay, done with the charcuterie. Now I usually put in, what is the other space absorber is the condiments. Because they, like I said, they take up room. So I have big
Part
plate.
of the river, I guess.
Berry bourbon mostarda. I found these in the fridge. Not 100% sure where they came from. A truffle honey. Honey is a fantastic complement to cheeses. You need that sweet with the salt. There's a little tomato and white sultana chutney. This one's got a little kick to it. So I'm actually going to put this with the burrata. because of the tomato in there. We do have one ripe tomato, but that's it. So,
Well,
First one here.
First
Come on,
one!
Yay.
and you saved it from the chipmunks, yay. Mustard. Oh, we got cheese, we have salami, yeah, mustard, okay. Mustard is always a good idea. I made a rhubarb mostarda last year. Mostarda is essentially a savory kind of mustard-based condiment,
We don't have one.
but sweet. Pickled items, pickled beans, olives. And then we'll move into the carbs. So I'm gonna, when the containers are this petite and they have already written on them what they are, quite often I just put them on straight because I want my people to know what they're eating. If they can't do truffles, I don't want them to like accidentally ingest the truffle. Same thing with just about any of the other condiments. Some of them are pretty obvious as to what they are. Like the fig. So I'm just gonna do a little vessel here with the fig paste. Fig paste, I know it sounds really, really super trite, but it is good. And it is good with like everything. This one is solid enough, it could actually go into cubes. Into little chunks. So I'm not drinking through my wine. How is everybody, are you tasting the wine along with the cheeses that you're cutting up? And what are you finding?
Oh, yeah, well before.
My kind of gal.
I'm eating with my eyes.
and taken away, right?
Yeah.
Taking away the ideas. Well, you have like paperwork in front of you. Am I speaking to the right person for the paperwork, please?
Me.
That was.
Oh, that was,
No,
okay.
Still in his paperwork, yeah.
Do you ever use membrillo?
Yes, absolutely. It is quintessential with manchego, obviously.
Yes.
Membrillo, Marcona almonds, and manchego.
Yeah.
Okay.
Briam. Sorry. Gosh,
Quince essential?
essential.
Quince.
Quince.
Essential.
Okay, got it. Write that one down. Quince essential. I like that.
You don't need any more puns.
But it's punny.
Sweet dreams are made of cheese. This is a fun one that somebody gave me the idea. You need something really petite on your board to put a condiment in. This is a shot glass, even though it looks like a jester. Got it from the Renaissance Festival.
There was also a question or a comment just about using the country ham too. You
Oh, yeah.
mentioned that, so.
You can do. So, because prosciutto is super
Yeah.
easy to put on. This is going to be real similar. It's a little bit more thick cut than most prosciuttos, but I'll show you. As long as folks don't mind my references to animal anatomy. Because what we're going to do, and it comes, yeah, nicely separated by these little leaflets, right? If you were to wrap this up into a one, can you imagine putting this whole thing in your mouth?
No.
It's a little bit choking, right? So I pull it apart along the muscle line into edible portions, and then do my best to display it with this one. Roll it into cigars.
Put into the, just doing cigars out of my.
Just roll it up into little pieces like this. I put the fat ribbon on the top just because display wise, it kind of makes it look interesting. Let's see, where do we not have meat? We'll tuck a few over here by the brie. Maybe with that creamy sweet creaminess of the brie and the saltiness of the country ham and the sweet of the fig paste. just do your best. I mean, it's not gonna, we're not gonna make or break the board by doing this. And it is a natural product, and natural products have their own attitude, just like us. So yeah, there we go. Pull it.
We still have the-
This is a reasonable bite. It's not gonna choke you. And you can kind of see that it's making a cute little flower over here. This is where I would use my pickle fork, my petite little pickle forks. Sit one next to that and serve it that way. You can find a lot of great stuff at garage sales or in, you know, again, grandma's pantry. So just keep working that into little rounds, and you can see it's kind of making a little flower over here. So I always wind up with the space in the middle. I tend to fill the outside edges of my board and then wind up with the space in the middle, but we will fill that with carbs. And carbs are kind of your last thing. I usually leave them until last because if there isn't room on the board, you can always put it on a plate on the side, no big deal, especially if we have gluten intolerant, you know. Same thing with nuts. You can leave them on the side, considering your audience, okay? And if you have, like Mike is really tired of hearing me say this, Uncle Fred coming over who makes a sandwich out of everything and will like eat all of that cheddar, you know, in one bite, get some cheap cheddar. I'm sure Scott can appreciate that in the wine world.
Yeah.
That's funny. This is,
And if, you know, we don't care to have company, this works for dinner. These boards for dinner, check that on an Instagram, I'm not kidding. And actually Cypress Grove, that's one of their marketing tools, is cheese boards for dinner. So as far as the meat goes, I'm finding that the charcuterie goes, is that gonna go really nice with the 1869? Usually, you know, when you're talking about a Zin or a heavy-bodied red wine, right? And it's all about the fat to balance. Cheese is a lot of fat, so is the charcuterie. I need another rag. There we go. So I was gonna say, I was gonna put this on my burrata, not that one. Kerry, what are you doing? What other kinds of goodies did you folks find in your pantry?
Orange fig jam.
Yay.
Marionberry jalapeno jam.
Oh,
Marionberry, you don't see Marionberry. You must be more Oregon.
No, we're in California, but there's a local grocery store that sells a lot of upscale items and they had it.
Oh, excellent. That is wonderful. Yeah, Marionberry, you don't see, I mean, we have thimbleberries here.
Where was that, Michelle?
At Nugget.
Oh, right at Nugget.
We went
Nice.
and got all of our cheeses. We went up yesterday to Plymouth and got our wine. And then today I went to Nugget and got all the cheeses and the meats for the charcuterie.
Oh, great. Oh. So have you been testing the 3 different wines with the cheeses?
We ended up yesterday, we got the Blanc de Blanc. So we started with that and now we're into the Riesling with the cheeses.
Ah,
You've been partying for a few days.
Yes, we spent an hour with Brett yesterday at the winery trying wines and ended up with the case of the Zinfandel.
that's a good thing.
I think I
Yeah.
remember
Oh, wait,
seeing you guys sitting there.
Sounds excellent. So the Nugget, that's a privately owned grocery store?
Yeah, it's a local chain in the Sacramento area.
Okay.
Yeah, more of a higher end chain.
Phyllis cheese counter.
I'm on Zoom.
I'm like, what?
I think just liking is in. Yep.
Liking was in. Ah,
Mhm.
gotcha. Okay. So moving on to fresh ingredients. Apples were looking good in the store. Seasonal, okay, seasonal.
Oh, that is good.
The peaches are just coming in.
Yeah.
And here in Minnesota, the
One time ago.
Really?
tomatoes are barely getting started for us.
I can see why he liked it.
At least the ones that we stole from the chipmunks. One trick you can do ahead of time with your apple or pear, the fruits that tend to brown, slice them up ahead and let them hang out in a bowl of either salted or lemon water so that they don't, and then dry them off when they come out. And they won't brown on your plate.
Well, our dried fruit isn't as pretty perhaps, but it's all produce that we make. So we dry our own figs and peaches and apricots, and so then we put that on the board. But
Oh,
they
well, color
aren't
me jealous.
gorgeous. They're just really tasty.
This is what it is, all right? We want tasty. You don't want to put cardboard on this thing, okay? And we're drinking beautiful wine. We're eating beautiful product. And most of the time I keep it to myself. Sorry, Mike. But your apricots probably don't look like this then, because these have had
No, they
sulfur
don't.
treatments, right?
This is what ours look like. Well, sorry. They're really not very pretty, but boy, do they taste good.
They're natural. They
Yes.
are absolutely natural. I don't know about your apricots. If you get really super, and this is where I'm glad I have a red towel because I'll probably cut myself. Can you get into the pit of them? If you're really careful with the apricots, you can open them up and stuff them with a little blue cheese
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
and then sandwich them back up.
Well, we could run out to the orchard and do that.
Again, I'm jealous.
Good.
Apples, apricots, and plums right now.
So, and also dates, medjool dates. You have medjool dates. You have
Oh,
figs, all those beautiful things.
No.
Same thing with the dates. Open
Just
them up.
figs.
Cut
Just
'em.
figs. Dried figs.
Wonderful. Oh, look at that. That's a tiny little guy. That's a whole fig.
No. That's sliced. We slice them and dry them.
Gotcha. Okay. So same thing with the date. Now that's ready to go. Blue cheese and dried fruit. Killer.
That looks good.
Absolutely wonderful. I'm not big on putting grapes on my tray because I think that the grapes kind of fight with cheese.
We know what we're doing.
These grapes don't.
No. You know, the raw product.
We've already taken the fight out of them.
Yeah.
I love that. And finally, carbs. I don't know how long we're into this now. We're doing okay.
2 minutes.
I don't think it'll hard stop. So choose your weapon. Baguette, make it into crostini. These are communion wafers, is what I call them. 34-degree crisps. Tiny, tiny little guys. You can get a lot of them on your tray. Before I got the baguette, I didn't have any carbs, but I found egg roll wrappers in the freezer. And so I rolled 2 of them together with some herbs on the inside. So there's like sage and basil in these egg roll wrappers, little olive oil and salt. And then here's airline cookies. Cookies.
Biscotti.
Biscotti.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Biscoff.
Biscotti.
Yeah, Biscotti. Yeah. Those are
Fantastic
good.
with Brie It's a cookie. It's, it's breakfast. Don't worry about having cheese just for dinner. Have some cheese at breakfast, okay? They're excellent with blue cheese as well. So, like I said, I tend to.
Okay, in a minute.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I have a mess. I have a total mess going on here. A few spaces left. Suggestions, not necessarily direct pairings, but let people play. I'm gonna put some of the Biscoff over here next to the blue because I know that they taste good together. Pistachios, Marcona almonds, if you want to get into the crunchy part of things. Pickled things. I have some pickled beans that I'll put on here, but I'm going to finish up with the carbs. This is the nice thing about these. They're a little bit of a palate cleanser, but you can cram a lot into one little space. So right there in the middle, trying to make it easier for folks to grab the cheese. In fact, I probably should put this blue so it's facing outward. I like to have it facing outward from the board, but it's a mess right now, so I'm just going to leave it. And we need pickles, cornichons, olives, something bright, salty contrast, a few pickled beans. It's a sandwich waiting to happen. What am I missing, Mike? Like anything?
You don't have a lot of space left.
So Kerry, is this mainly then for people to pick with their fingers that there aren't, do you put utensils on there for them or?
I do. Utensils usually are in the form of something really small. So, or something that's already using to cut the cheese, like this pick over here, the spreader and the burrata. As far as basic utensils, you don't have to get crazy. I do like my pickle fork because of the length of it, and you can grab some meat and put it on your plate. But seriously, just some appetizer picks. Little bamboo appetizer picks. Usually people will just grab a little bit of something and put the pick back in. If they don't, that's fine. If they put it in their mouth and then put the pick back in, that's not okay. If you have little bitty tongs, that works too.
Little bitty, so buy some little bitties.
So that's it. It's really, yeah, not a lot. Tongs or a fork, another pickle fork would be good with the meat.
Maybe for practice.
Even the Brie knife that we talked about before with the pick on the top. Getting crowded once again, but put that over next to the Brie. They can always slice a little bit more and use the pick also to grab. Otherwise, usually people are, they're carrying a knife, they're carrying a fork. So hopefully, they keep an eye on food safety a little bit. One never knows. This is a Truffle Honey. I'm gonna put that on the blue. You can actually see the truffles on there. This is one that I am going to do ahead. I don't usually do that, but it is so good together. And I'm going to put the honey right on the blue. And then we end with a flourish. I actually do have ripe things in the garden. A little bit of a chive. Blossom. All edible. A little dill. Oh, that smells really nice. So yummy. And I like my sage.
So Carrie, somebody is asking, can trail mix be used?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm using chocolate.
Popcorn.
Popcorn, yes. If you don't have a beautiful baguette, if you don't have, awesome crackers that cost you $6 a box. Yeah, potato chips, popcorn, whatever you got. And I have no room for the chocolate, but I'm gonna find space. Trust me, chocolate is wonderful.
Your
Pair that with a little blue cheese.
Yes.
You won't go wrong. Yeah.
Everything's overhanging
I
with the
know.
blue cheese.
Can't go wrong with blue cheese.
Dessert, dinner. So this is the style right now. Completely full. And if there's any tiny little space over here, little nuts or something like that. Cherries, dried cherries. I try not to put anything on there with a pit. We don't need a trip to the dentist. So dried cherries that have no pit in them, olives that have no pit. This is the style right now. This is what you'll see on Pinterest. This is what you'll see on Facebook. And the trend is changing a little bit, thankfully. Going back to focusing on the ingredients, like a single ingredient, a single cheese, a couple of cheeses, and just those cheeses directly paired with just this wine. Or going back to that style-wise.
Well, before we go back to that, I want to try this. I thought this is just beautiful. Thank you. And I think it might be fun to do a little contest. Have if anybody that wanted to go and make their own, we should have them send a picture of theirs and tell us what they put in, and let's put them on display. Maybe by the end of July.
We already decimated it. It's too late.
We ate it.
You'll have to do it again.
Well, yeah, that's right. We saw yours, yes, and you started off with one. But look at that! Isn't that gorgeous? So we'll send a little something out to remind you all if you want to send in a picture of some of yours, and we'll compare notes. But this is
Oh, look at that.
fantastic.
Oh, pretty.
Cheers. Oh my gosh. Well, you can take a picture now and then submit that for the contest.
I also want to know, as I haven't had an opportunity to taste the wines through the cheeses yet, I'll get to that. If you can add to the photos what you enjoyed as a pairing in particular, that would be great.
Great idea.
They'll
Thank
have
you,
different
Carrie.
products.
Yeah. Oh, how fun is that? I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited about this.
Thank you. Beautiful job.
Oh, you mean the cheese tray? Thank you.
Everything. You too.
You kind of quick cheers and grab.
Yeah, do you want to do a screenshot and we'll, grab a glass of wine and do a 3, 2, 1 cheers?
Yes, let's do that.
Mine's
Everybody
empty.
grab your
File.
going to
Yeah, what we have
hang, gotta change it to.
Cheers or cheese,
A
whatever. you
little
wanna
water is fine, Estella. Or coffee,
Coffee, whatever works. All right, so we got ready. All right, 3, 2, 1. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Astrovia.
All right, awesome. Thanks. folks.
Okay, well, thank you again, Carrie and Mike and everybody that participated. This was fantastic. We learned so much. And I hope
Yes.
you all felt that way too. So we'll.
Thank you for arranging this.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you, Carrie.
Nice to meet everybody.
Thanks, Carrie.
Bye.
Come on over and help me with this.
Thank you.
Thank you very
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
That charcuterie board is amazing.
That is quite good.